Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind podcast. Today's podcast, episode number 242. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. It's Wednesday Motivation and Inspiration. You guys know what time it is. Today, we're talking about how you can't get time back. Because the reality of this life is the time that you waste, you can't get it back. And we tend to think that we have tomorrow or the next day or next week. We really don't when you think about it. Time waits for no one, and it's constantly moving. And we can hear the cliche, time is not real and it's a construct of control. Well, guess what? Time is based on the movement of life and the sunlight we get. And yes, clocks and watches were created, and we all know this by now. But whatever you're doing with your life, if you don't like it, change it. Because if you have the ability to control the narrative of your life, then it's time to change it. You're wasting your time, soaking in your sorrows and being in your feelings, when you could be changing the landscape of your life altogether. And it's okay to feel down and in the dumps sometimes, but how long are you going to stay there? How much time are you going to lose not trying to solve the issues you are having? Let's look at the downtime we have daily. How much of it are we wasting on social media, watching television, and not being in tune with ourselves? And what I mean by being in tune with ourselves, it's paying attention to ourselves from a spiritual standpoint. We're not taught that, and we unfortunately have to learn that stuff. We're not always taught about that stuff from our parents, or, we're not taught that in school. That's a far cry if we were to get taught that in school. But let's look at the meaningless things that we do when we could be striving for something bigger than us. We all have the ability to go after what we want in life, but we continuously live in fear and constantly doubt ourselves of our true potential. And that's the one thing I love about life, is that you can motivate, inspire, or push someone to, fulfill what they're capable of, and you can really inspire others. I will say that I doubted myself for quite a while with, a lot of things that I've done in my life. But I've stepped outside of my comfort zone, and I have made myself readily open and available to acquire knowledge that I need to. I spend time, trying to read books. I wish I could say I listen to podcasts, but I honestly don't that much. And it's because I have my own podcast, so I have to record a lot. I spend a lot of time in my walk-in closet recording content for you guys. And I do all that I can to create topics that are relevant to not just me, but life in general, life overall. And in all honesty, we're all guilty of not utilizing our time to benefit ourselves, but to someone else's. We get sold a dream, but dreams are in a state of not being in control. Goals are a state of constant motion and moving towards something that you want for yourself. And we've all, lost time doing things that we shouldn't be. And it's time to change that for the betterment of you. We all have that time and moment where we sit back and reflect on things. So do you want to be the person who realizes you didn't chase your passion, or you didn't utilize the talents you've had all of these years and never took full advantage of it? Think about that. Because it'd be scary to know that if you're very young right now as you're listening to this, and when I mean young, it can be 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s, and even your 60s. That means you're still young in your 60s. And you don't take the opportunity to utilize the talents and gifts that you do have. And you have to find those things. You have to learn about yourself and who you really are. And that's what I mean by being in tune with yourself spiritually. When I, started my writing journey, I had no idea I was capable of the things that I was capable of. And all these years, I'm like, wow, I had this all along. Who would have thought? Right? So that's why I ask people, what are they good at? And I want you guys to do that. Ask yourself, what are you good at? What are you talented at? And what do you love? What gets you going? What gets your motor moving? Because there is something that gets people going, whether it's animals, whether it's sports, whether it's business, whether it's motivation and inspiration, whether it's, being a listening ear to someone. So it's like, if you have a great listening ear and you're compassionate and you're understanding, then, well, you can be a mental health counselor, or you can be a psychologist, or you can be a psychiatrist, right? If you're great at content creation, you're great at writing, then guess what? You can be a short story writer, you can be an author, you can be a poet. You can be one of those people that write Hallmark cards, right? If you have the love bug in you, right? If you're a great speaker, you can do the whole sports podcasting and, do YouTube videos, or you can be a motivational speaker, or, you can be a life coach, you can be a skills coach, or whatever it is. If you love sports, you can be a coach, you can be a trainer. You can be a strength coach. You don't have to necessarily play professionally. You still can be involved in some way, shape, or form. So, it just depends, right? If you have a great business acumen and you understand the nature of businesses and how, corporations work together to do things, then, you can be a business person. You don't have to necessarily be the CEO. You can be the CFO, which is the chief financial officer, or you can be, the VP of operations, or whatever floats your boat, whatever gets you going. I think the problem is, we're shown certain things all the time, that we have to be CEOs, we have to be number one on the list. Not always. And sometimes your personalities are not built to be a CEO. You may be good at being the second or third person, still being paid well, and still enjoying and having a passion for what you do. The problem is society is perpetuating all of these things, right? And we have to break the mold, and we have to break out of the brainwashing that's being told to us. You can't get your time back. You really can't. I'll admit, I wasted my 20s, and I do have a podcast about that, and I do have a blog about that. I expound more on it on a podcast, and I've done it so long ago. But I'll admit, like, my 20s, I did a lot of things that I didn't need to do. And I don't want you to be that person. If you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, I don't want you guys to be, doing things that you don't really need to do. It's okay to have fun, but you need to explore yourself and who you are. And if you're a corporate America person, great. Go for that. Try to strive for the best position possible at the company you're at, or move to the next company that's going to give you those opportunities. Now, if you're not a corporate America person, but you want to be in control of your destiny, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to start your own company. You can be a copywriter and make $80,000, $90,000 a year, be in control of your own destiny, work for a couple of companies, and go take your vacations and do what you need to do, right? Am I a CEO of like my own brand? Yeah, I am. But I don't want to go opening a big old business and, selling all of these things. Like, that's just not my thing, right? I don't get caught up in all of the trends. And I don't want you guys to get caught up in all those trends either, because then you lose time. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is why I'm trying to keep you guys motivated and inspired with, hey, do what you love, do what you're passionate about. And it's okay to have 2 to 3 different passions. Look, I love sports, but I don't love it enough to go back to what I was doing in my 20s, which was over 20 years ago, right? I still watch sports from time to time. I kind of, dip and dive into watching certain things. But this is my purpose. This is my passion. It's doing these podcasts. It's doing this content. I write my sports articles from time to time for my homeboy's website and stuff like that. I help him maintain his website, but that's not my journey anymore. It's not, and I'm okay with that. The sports space is totally different from a corporal standpoint, but it's also more opportunities for people to really like have a voice for themselves because of all the social media platforms that are there. Time can be your friend or it can be your enemy, and you guys get to decide that on a daily basis. I'm not saying don't have fun, and I'm not saying don't enjoy your life. But what I am saying is don't overdo it when you have goals and aspirations to do great things. And when you want to, run your own show and you want to do things on your own terms, you got to be willing to sacrifice a little bit of fun sometimes for a little bit of work and grind and opportunities to get to where you want to be. So with that said, that's my podcast for today. I thank you guys for listening as always. Feel free to subscribe to all of the platforms that I'm on. The aquariummindpodcast.com is the website. Be good, everyone, and go accomplish your goals.